okay, I don't know how to give the gospel to this lady.
Right.
And when she said she worshiped my ancestors, the thing that popped in my head was, okay, I'm going to go to Leviticus. I'm going to go to Deuteronomy. It was so many scriptures that popped into my head.
Mm-hmm.
But when I saw that she was rejecting scripture, I felt like the Lord was saying, she knows this. She just hates what she knows.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do now?
Mm-hmm.
And what I felt like, I felt the Lord like leading me to ask her questions. And I was like, why do you have this heart? Like what's there? And then that's when she opened up and said, you know, I was a part of the church, you know, and they betrayed me. And I was like, how did they betray you? Well, they told me my molestation was my fault. Oh, okay, you were molested. Okay, how old were you when this happened, if you don't mind me asking? I was XYZ. Okay, now I can talk to. So after that, you know, I was like, okay, I'm so sorry that happened to you. And then she was like, I don't need your empathy. But let me ask you, since you're a Christian, was it God's fault? I mean, was it my fault that I was molested? Because that's what every Christian told me, right? That's what my old church told me. So was it God's fault that I was molested? Was it God's fault that I didn't have a good relationship with my mother? And I said, Lord, I don't know what to say.
Help it.
And I remember saying, Lord, help me.
Yeah.
And I felt like the Lord said at that moment, share Jackie's testimony. And I was like, you know what? I know you don't want my empathy, but I'm truly sorry, you know? And I want to just tell you about my wife and her experience and what she went through, yada, yada, yada. And I told her about your story. And even though I was a man that couldn't empathize with her in the way that I could, because I never went through that experience. And she was hard towards me at first. When I shared your story, she softened up in a way.
Yeah.
I saw her become soft, and she was like, I'm sorry that happened to your wife. I know what it feels like, yada, yada, yada. And then I was able to give her the gospel through your testimony.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you about a God who I believe deserve your worship other than your ancestors, because look what God did with my wife. My wife has wrote a book called XYZ. God had literally took my wife through all of this stuff, all of this pain, yada, yada, because for his glory. And not only that, he was concerned about my wife. He saw that happen to my wife. He hated it. And not only that, he hated the fact that happened to you. Yeah. God saw that and he was not pleased. Yeah. And so I was able to give the gospel through your testimony, and not just, so what would have happened if I just would have gave her all of the scriptures about like,
you would have filled her mind and not reached her heart.
Absolutely. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And so asking, but it only happened because I asked a good question.
Yeah.
And so, you know.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Bible, the way God dealt with the prophets, with the people, the way Jesus dealt with the Pharisees, even his own disciples, he asked a lot of questions, because questions can also be instruction. And so for me, when I'm discipling or walking with somebody, or even in conversation, like a ministry conversation with some people, I may see or discern something, and I will ask them a question to bring them to that point. Because a lot of times it is better to help people reach a conclusion than to just teach them the conclusion.
That's good.